And Action News Jax is pushing for answers after an apartment fire forced 200 elderly people to leave their homes. Action News Jax found Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments was due for inspection by HUD this year, but there's no record that ever happened. According to HUD's records, it was due in February of this year. Action News Jax talked to tenants of the Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments about what it was like to escape their burning building with just their clothes on their back.
We didn't see it coming. Didn't see it coming at all. No.
Debbie Taylor says she and many of her neighbors have nowhere to go and don't know what they're going to do. The Red Cross is putting the majority of them up at a shelter, but that will only last until Thursday.
It's a big mess with the capital M for a lot of people, senior people, elderly people, people that have mobility problems, sick people.
Red Cross volunteers say everyone at the shelter will leave with hygiene necessities and clothing, but it's still unclear or when they'll be able to go home, survey the damage, and salvage what's left of their belongings. Action News Jax has continuing coverage of the investigation into the fire at the Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments on actionnewsjax.com and our mobile app. We posted video of the building of the fire, plus an inside look from Jacksonville Fire Rescue as they work to put out those flames. We've also provided information on how you can donate if you want to help the people who were.
Well, nearly 100 people are still without their home this morning after a fire at Jacksonville Townhome Apartments. Happened on Monday. That's off Phillips Highway on the south side. The cause of that fire is still under investigation, but an October inspection found that the sprinklers weren't working. However, the company that owned the apartments said that the sprinklers were working when this fire broke out. First Coast News' Nick Perot spoke with residents who are still in a shelter, still waiting to go back home.
I've been crying. My anxiety's way up. I didn't even sleep last night. I stayed out here all night. I just couldn't sleep. It was just like too nerve-wracking.
Mark Baker is one of nearly 80 people staying on these cots in this church instead of their apartment off Phillips Highway.
My fiance doesn't even want to go back and live in that building.
Why?
Because she feels that they're not doing their job.
Baker is already looking for a new home.
Absolutely. I'm not going to renew my lease if I don't have to.
He's not the only one ready to move on.
What are your concerns still going forward?
Is to get out of there as fast as I can because of all the danger and the unsafeness, and it's not a place you want to be.
Current management has plans to use federal dollars to invest some $32,000 in property upgrades to each unit starting in January, but some say it's already too late to convince them to stay.
We should get something back because we paid our rent. And we have to go through all this whole humiliation. That's crazy.
Barbara Retzers lived at the Townhouse Apartments 11 years and says she's had it seeing management change hands at least 3 times in 4 years. She's also ready to move.
Why did this happen? Because somebody didn't take care of what they should have done there.
Retzers speaking out tonight in hopes she sees action against a place that she says shouldn't be open until major changes are made.
We need voices, people to help us. Not to feel sorry and bad. Help us. Why did they let it go this far? Let it happen, That's what I can't understand.
Again, that property was awarded nearly $15 million in low-income housing tax credits through HUD. We're still waiting on the latest inspections of those townhouse apartments. Meanwhile, residents are hoping they'll be back in their homes by tomorrow.
People who live at the Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments may be able to return home as early as today. A fire Monday left more than 250 people who live there without a place to stay. Power's been restored to common areas as well as almost every floor. More than 100 people staying at the shelter at Faith United Methodist Church say the situation's not really ideal, but they're thankful for the donated food, the water, the clothes, and of course for a place to sleep.
I don't know. We're just going day by day. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. We don't have the funds. We don't have the money. We're both disabled. We're both on Social Security disability. So we'll see. We might have to live in our car until we can get the money saved up to get another apartment. I don't know. One day at a time.
Just take it one day at a time, minute by minute, hour by hour, whatever, but just trying to stay calm because it's not going to help if I get upset. It's only going to make things worse.
The fire marshal is still investigating, but believes the fire was accidental and started in a cooling heating unit. The I-Team requesting information on 31 senior living facilities that are here in Duval County. You can see the locations spread out on this map. You can also find a map of those facilities on the I-Team section of news4jax.com. Once we have those reports, we'll also be posting them.
100 of our most vulnerable citizens remain in a shelter. As I've been telling you, a total of 200 were forced from care homes following this fire Monday at Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments. 6 people were injured. That property is Section 8 housing.
And today, questions remain about a recent fire inspection that was supposed to happen and may not have. Action News Jack's Russell Colburn joins us live right now on the south side. And Russell, our law and safety expert says that criminal charges could be coming for those responsible.
I just got finished speaking with Dale Carson. He says it's possible they face negligence or elder abuse charges from all of this. Now, out here in the parking lot of the Faith United Methodist Church, you can see a JSO presence. I've just confirmed that they are out here doing security for the shelter residents. And actually, if you walk with me over here, the shelter is right back there. We'll swing you around and you can see the cross on that building. There are people still there, 100 residents still in that shelter. And within the last hour, the Red Cross told me it all comes down to the building inspector to determine when these people can go back home. The Red Cross is hoping for an update this afternoon, and we'll keep you posted on that. But take another look at the bright orange flames from this fire that injured 6 people. The Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments on Phillips Highway is a low-income apartment building for the elderly that was supposed to be inspected by HUD. That inspection would have included looking for fire deficiencies. We found the building's most recent HUD inspection from February 2014. Because of the building's score, it only had to be inspected every 3 years. But there's no record the required inspection happened or was even scheduled this year. We tried to confront the building's manager about the issue, but she dodged our questions and told us to leave. Now Debbie Taylor and her neighbors are left at this shelter not knowing what's next.
I don't know where I'm going. I'm homeless now. I don't have nowhere to go.
So Action News Jax is still working to figure out right now if the most recent inspection happened in February of 2014. We'll let you know on that, of course. Reporter Jenna Bourne joining me for live team coverage on CBS 47 at 5. Live in Englewood, Russell Colburn.
A high-rise apartment for low-income elderly tenants was not documenting that anyone was watching that on Fire Watch when a fire started. Now today, Sky Action News Jax was overhead as crews with masks and safety vests made their way in and out of the building. Tonight, Action News Jax is hearing from a double amputee who says she barely made it out.
When it got quiet, when I couldn't hear anything anymore, I was like, and the smoke was the worst. In the last 45 minutes I was in there, I was like, I didn't think I was going to get out.
Action News Jax told you Tuesday when the Townhouse Apartments were given the choice to evacuate the building or do a fire watch since their fire pump was broken.
100 of those tenants remain in shelters tonight after being forced from their homes. New at 5, Action News Jax, Russell Colburn is live outside that shelter in Englewood. And Russell, a lot of people there say their life has been in limbo now for days.
And John, Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments posted online today that the safety inspections happening over there are taking longer than they'd like. Now, exactly not what the tenants here in the shelter want to hear. The complex is hoping to have some of them back in their apartments by tomorrow. Flames shooting out of Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments Monday. The high-rises low-income housing for the elderly.
I was one of the last ones out because they had to bring me down because I was bilateral amputee.
Tenant Pamela Sands says she barely made it out. She has lupus and lost her legs to blood clots. Her main concern now, along with dozens of other tenants, is what's next.
That's been the hardest part, is just not knowing what was going to happen, where we were going to go. That's hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. And I don't want to talk anymore.
Wednesday, I got a representative with the property management company Cambridge Management on the phone, but they wouldn't take questions.
Okay.
and hung up. Later in a statement, they said in part, quote, "The safety of our residents is our top priority, and we are focused on helping our residents transition to interim housing and on minimizing any disruption they have experienced." When I pressed for more, the representative said, "That's all the information I can provide at this time."
They're not doing nothing. The only thing they're doing is getting the money.
Meantime, tenants we spoke with are fed up.
How can I get back in my apartment when all my furniture is waterlogged? There's no way. I mean, we're being treated horrible.
Now, Cambridge management was on scene out here talking to tenants, but they made it clear they did not want to be interviewed. How they dodged our cameras for the second straight day in the next hour of news. Live in Englewood, Russell Colburn, CBS 47 Action News, Jax.
Close to 100 people are still waiting to return to their Jacksonville Townhouse apartment following Monday's fire. Red Cross estimates 70 people are still receiving help the past 3 days in temporary shelter. First Coast News reporter Nick Perot joins us from that shelter with the latest. Nick.
Anthony, good evening. Now, Cambridge Management, the Washington-based company for the Townhouse apartments, has been meeting one-on-one later this afternoon with those residents, letting them know the current condition. Again, as of right now, they have not been able to be let back into the apartments, but I am told by Cambridge Management they expect that to take place for some residents here tomorrow. Now, as far as other ones, they'll work for temporary housing. Now, again, we are now 3 days removed from that fire and just 5 days from Christmas. Today, I talked to many that had some outreach out here about the power of giving and the importance of reaching out and helping others in times of need.
And if you need more, we can bring more back later.
I know what it feels like when you get hit with a huge amount of need and you have a small amount of resources.
Once Lisa Carr and the Jacksonville Beach Mission House continue to hear the news that nearly 100 people are still in this shelter following Monday's fire, she jumped into action.
Helping 100 people at a time is a difficult task for anybody. So we just wanted to help. We had volunteers go through both of our clothes closets that we keep and our food pantry. Let me grab one.
Basically, if Lisa Carr and the mission staff could carry it, it made its way to this car and temporary shelter.
It's an easy thing for us to pack my car full of things that we already have at our building and to pay it forward to somebody else, especially another nonprofit charity. We just wanted to help and let people have a Merry Christmas, or at least a merrier Christmas.
All right, just back us in.
The rescue mission wasn't the only one spreading joy with a helping hand.
Some jackets and sweaters and stuff.
I work for an estate sale company, Simmons Estate Sale. We have a lot of clothes left over. There was probably over 100 outfits in there. We brought that out here to help what we could.
Carr is now challenging others to do like Marissa Batista and follow in her footsteps.
Anybody who has a few minutes. These are 100 people a week before Christmas who lost everything. And my challenge will be that everybody else loads up a car, loads up an SUV, bring whatever you can bring to these people who otherwise don't have a Christmas to have. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
And back out here live, Elder Source donated $200 in Walmart gift cards for those earlier today to go out and go pick up some extra essentials that are needed here over the next remaining day or so. Now, also a note this evening, we're still trying to confirm if those sprinklers and the fire alarms are properly working the way they should. I talked with JFRD a short while ago, and they had told me that firefighters upon arrival on Monday did say that the sprinkler systems did go off, but the pressure now is the concern. It wasn't adequate pressure, as well as the alarms. They say some firefighters told them they didn't hear any alarms, but residents had told the fire department they had received the alarms. Now, when I talked to JFRD, they referred me to the state fire marshal's office to their investigation. Say from this point forward, any determination in terms of whether the fire alarms are working adequately and the sprinklers would have to come from an investigation report from the state fire marshal's office. I reached out to those this evening. They said that response would come from the local fire department. So we're still working to get that information for you. Make sure to keep it right here for the very latest. Report live in Jacksonville tonight. Nick Perot, First Coast News. On
spots there.
Tenants displaced in a fire at a local apartment complex say they barely made it out alive. Action News Jax told you that more than 100 people are now in a shelter.
Tonight, dozens of tenants are waiting for answers. Action News Jax Russell Colburn talked to a double amputee living at the complex. She says she had to be carried out of the building.
Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments posted online this afternoon that the safety inspections going on there are taking longer than they'd like. That is not what the 100 tenants in this shelter want to hear. Still, the complex is hoping to have some of them back in their apartments by tomorrow. Flames shooting out of Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments Monday, the high-rises low-income housing for the elderly.
I was one of the last ones out because they had to bring me down because I'm a bilateral amputee.
Tenant Pamela Sands says she barely made it out. She has lupus and lost her legs to blood clots. Her main concern now, along with dozens of other tenants, is what's next.
That's been the hardest part, is just not knowing what was going to happen, where we were going to go. That's hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. And I don't have time anymore.
Wednesday, I got a representative with the property management company Cambridge Management on the phone, but they wouldn't take questions. Okay. And hung up. Later in a statement, they said in part, quote, "The safety of our residents is our top priority, and we are focused on helping our residents transition interim housing and on minimizing any disruption they have experienced." When I pressed for more, the representative said, "That's all the information I can provide at this time."
They're not doing nothing. The only thing they're doing is getting the money.
Meantime, tenants we spoke with are fed up.
How can I get back in my apartment when all my furniture is waterlogged? There's no way. I mean, we're being treated horrible.
We're joining you now from the shelter where the Red Cross has been collecting clothes as donations for these people. The outpouring, they say, has been so great they don't need any more supplies. In Englewood, Russell Colburn, Fox 30, Action News Jax.
An Action News Jax investigation uncovered that there is no documentation to the apartment complex that the apartment complex was conducting fire watch patrols. Action News Jax told you that management was required to evacuate or conduct a fire watch because of a broken fire pump. The building said that pump would be repaired the day before the fire, but a permit was never filed. Action News Jax also uncovered there's no record that HUD performed a required inspection of the building this year.
There is no documentation to show that required fire watch patrols were being done at this Jacksonville high-rise that caught fire. It's an update to an Action News Jax investigation into Monday's fire that left 200 people homeless and 6 people hurt. We've also learned that the building had a broken fire pump. Action News Jax has team coverage tonight. We begin with investigator Jenna Bourne live in the newsroom. Jenna, the fire marshal tells you the building's management was supposed to keep documentation of fire watch.
Specifically, a log of who conducted that required hourly patrol and when. But the fire marshal tells me there's no document showing that ever happened.
This is what the fire watch was supposed to prevent at Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments. The fire marshal instructed apartment management in this email on December 1st to either evacuate or start an hourly fire watch.
If this building did not, in fact, have somebody who was on fire watch the morning of this fire, what does that mean for them legally?
Well, clearly, if there were damages that could have been prevented, they would then become culpable or responsible for those additional damages.
Cambridge Management told the fire marshal it will replace the building's broken fire pump the day before Monday morning's fire injured 6 people. But city records show there was no permit filed to do the work. On Tuesday, I also uncovered there's no record that HUD performed its required inspection of the building this year. Cambridge Management also manages 126 properties across the country. 10 are in Jacksonville. I took a closer look at those properties and uncovered all 10 are either HUD housing or receive Jacksonville Housing Authority vouchers.
I've requested the most recent HUD inspections for all of the company's local HUD properties. We want to see how they're scoring and whether the inspections required by law to keep vulnerable people safe are actually happening. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jenna Bourne, CBS 47, Fox 30, Action News Jax.
Action News Jax Russell Colburn spent the day speaking with some of the displaced people, and he continues our team coverage. He is live in Englewood. And Russell, many of the people you talk to, they tell you that they are fed up.
Yeah, today representatives with Cambridge Management were here at the shelter, but they deliberately dodged our cameras. It's the second time they haven't taken any questions. Tenants I've spoken with here say they owe some answers. 5 days before Christmas, 100 of our most vulnerable citizens remain in a shelter. They've been here for 2 full days, and for many, frustration over the lack of answers is starting to reach a boiling point.
They're not doing nothing. The only thing they're doing is getting the money.
How can I get back in my apartment when all my furniture is waterlogged? There's no way. I mean, we're being treated horrible.
Monday's fire displaced 200 people. Pamela Sands, who has no local family, was one of them. A double amputee. She had to be carried down and says she barely made it out.
When it got quiet, when I couldn't hear anything anymore, and the smoke was the worst. And the last 45 minutes I was in there, I was like, I didn't think I was going to get out.
Wednesday, Cambridge Management sent a statement that reads in part, our internal investigation will complement the work of local authorities to determine a cause, at which point we will have a better understanding of what happened and what may need to change in the interest of safety. But as that happens, Sands and dozens of other tenants wonder what's next.
That's been the hardest part, is just not knowing what was going to happen, where we were going to go.
The complex says it's hoping to have some people back home by tomorrow. Now, we're joining you in the part of the shelter right now where the Red Cross has been collecting some clothes for people. They say the outpouring has been so strong, they don't need any more supplies. Live in Englewood, Russell Colburn, CBS 47 Fox 30, Action News Jax.
Your time is 4:33. An Action News Jax investigation uncovers there was no documentation that a fire watch patrol was conducted at the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments that caught fire Monday. The building had a broken fire pump. The fire marshal instructed apartment management in an email on December 1st to either evacuate or start an hourly fire watch. The fire marshal tells Action News Jax the building's management was supposed to log who conducted that patrol, but there's no document showing that ever happened. Now, nearly 200 tenants are homeless and 6 people are injured following this fire. One tenant, who is a double amputee, says she barely made it out of there.
When it got quiet, when I couldn't hear anything anymore, and the smoke was the worst. And the last 45 minutes I was in there, I was like, I didn't think I was going to get out.
The high-rise offers low-income housing to the elderly. Action News Jax law and safety expert Del Carson says if investigators find there were damages that could have prevented the company that owns this high-rise could be held responsible. The property management company Cambridge Management sent us a statement. It reads in part, our internal investigation will complement the work of local authorities to determine a cause, at which point we will have a better understanding of what happened and what may need to change in the interim.
Another setback for 200 vulnerable people who were displaced from a Jacksonville townhouse apartments after a fire. Action News Jax uncovered the crews found asbestos in their building, which is HUD housing for seniors. Action News Jax investigator Jenna Bourne was the only reporter at the shelter today when people got the news that they were staying.
Around 2:30, we noticed a flurry of activity over here in this courtyard. Everyone was being ushered into this dining hall for an update. But one major detail was left out of that meeting, the discovery of asbestos in their building. Tell me what you just found out in this meeting.
That there was some damage to the building. They didn't say what damage it was, what caused it, but parts of the building are not safe to be moved into now.
So they didn't tell you that asbestos was found?
No.
What goes through your mind when you hear that?
That you can die from that.
Minutes before Mark Baker and the others were ushered into a meeting, I got this email from Jacksonville Townhouse Apartments management company, Cambridge Management. It says, in part, during the cleanup process, trace amounts of asbestos were discovered at the facility. We have contracted with a licensed asbestos cleanup provider to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations regarding asbestos abatement.
Some people may have already been damaged and don't even know.
Some people will continue to stay at the shelter tonight, and Cambridge Management will put others up in hotels. Baker says moving to a hotel would allow him to be reunited with his service dog, Rocky, who's been staying in a crate at the shelter.
It's hard. I saw him in the cage. He wasn't happy in there. He's not eating. When he saw me, he was all like jumping around and licking me.
In the meantime, nobody knows when they'll be able to go home or even retrieve some belongings. Cambridge Management tells me it's working on a plan to help some of its displaced residents retrieve some of their important belongings from their units, but there's no timeline on when that's going to happen. Reporting in Englewood, Jenna Bourne, Fox 30.
New at 10, elderly tenants forced out of their homes by a fire have to move again.
This is not a very good Christmas for any of us.
The new issues we're uncovering about the Jacksonville Townhouse apartment.
Water damage in brand new homes.
It feels like we've been shafted.
Why homeowners in St. Augustine say it's the home builder's fault.
Live. This is Fox 30 Action News Jax at 10. Local coverage you can count on.
Some of the elderly tenants who were forced out of their high-rise apartments by a fire are spending the night tonight in new housing. They were bussed there tonight after spending the last 3 nights in a church. New discoveries inside the burned building mean those tenants might not make it home for a while. I'm John Bachman.
I'm Tanika Hughes. Action News Jax was first to report asbestos has been found inside the Jacksonville Townhouse apartment. Action News Jax Amber Kriska is live in the South Point neighborhood. And Amber, still a lot of uncertainty there.
Yeah, many people tell me they still just don't know what's going to happen next and how long they'll be staying in a hotel like this one. And you can see right over here some evacuees still waiting to get into the hotel. The bus arrived in the last 10 minutes. You keep in mind, they're just exhausted. They're tired. They're ready to go to bed. Red Cross did say management is paying for the hotels, but for how long is still up in the air. Tonight, dozens packed into buses.
Okay, we're moving into that bus.
Heading hotels.
For the first time tonight, I'm going to take a hot shower.
It's been a long week for George Prito and nearly 200 others who lost their homes in a fire Monday morning at the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments just days before Christmas.
And all the people need our prayers and everything.
This is not a very good Christmas for any of us.
The shelter was originally scheduled to close today, but things changed, and Red Cross says it will stay open on an as-needed basis and will be evaluated each day.
We don't know for how long. We don't know if we're going back home ever.
While many now have moved to hotels, Prito says he's still unsure about what will happen next.
We don't know what's going to happen. That's the worst of it. We don't know what's going to happen, where we're going, for how long. A lot of questions.
And many evacuees tell me they haven't heard from management. They don't know how long they'll be staying at this hotel. It's been hard getting a hold of management. I know when I confronted the director this week, she took off and hid in the kitchen. So we've been trying to reach out to management. As soon as we hear from them, we'll let you know. Reporting live in South Point, Amber Kriska, Fox 30, Action News Jax.
Action News Jax broke the story about the asbestos in the high-rise at 2:35 this afternoon with an alert on the Action News Jax mobile app. The new discovery is another setback for the 200 vulnerable people who were displaced from the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments early Monday morning. The building is HUD Section 8 housing for seniors. Some are still staying at that shelter tonight, and the management company is, as Amber pointed out, putting up others in hotel rooms. The management company told us today that they found asbestos during the cleanup efforts.
Tell me what you just found out in this meeting.
That there was some damage to the building. They didn't say what damage it was, what caused it, but parts of the building are not safe to be moved into now.
So they didn't tell you that asbestos was found?
No.
What goes through your mind when you hear that?
That you can die from that.
We uncovered failed inspections at some of the management company's other Jacksonville apartments. You can see our full investigation. Now, dozens of tenants of the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments fire are staying in hotels after leaving the Red Cross shelter. This is video of them as they arrive to one of the hotels provided for them.
We don't know for how long. We don't know if we're going back home ever.
The tenants say they're happy for the accommodations, but still concerned about the unknown.
Action News Jax Amber Kriska spoke to the tenants earlier this evening, and they tell her they're happy to sleep on a mattress and have a hot shower.
Tonight, dozens packed into buses.
Okay, we're moving into that bus.
Heading to hotels.
For the first time tonight, I'm going to take a hot shower.
It's been a long week for George Prito and nearly 200 others who lost their homes in a fire Monday morning at the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments just days before Christmas.
And all the people need our prayers and everything.
This is not a very good Christmas for any of us.
The shelter was originally scheduled to close today, but things changed, and Red Cross says it will stay open on an as-needed basis and will be evaluated each day.
We don't know for how long. We don't know if we're going back home ever.
While many now have moved to hotels, Prieto says he's still unsure about what will happen next.
We don't know what's going to happen. That's the worst of it.
But tonight, many are now in a more comfortable place. Now you'll be in a nice warm bed.
Yeah, and a nice warm bath. I'm going to enjoy it for 1 whole hour.
Reporting Amber Kriska, CBS 47, Fox 30, Action News Jax.
Well, it may take even longer for tenants of the Jacksonville Townhouse apartments to get back home. Cleanup crews discovered asbestos in the high-rise days after it caught fire. Action News Jax first alerted you to that discovery on our mobile app just after 2:30 this afternoon. Action News Jax learned about the discovery of asbestos through an email from the management company. We talked to tenants about this dangerous find.
Tell me what you just found out in this meeting.
That there was some damage to the building. They didn't say what damage it was, what caused it, but parts of the building are not safe to be moved into now.
So they didn't tell you that asbestos was found?
No.
What goes through your mind when you hear that?
That you can die from that.
Action News Jax also uncovered failed inspections at some of the management company's other Jacksonville apartments. We have continuing coverage on the fallout since the high-rise fire on actionnewsjax.com and our mobile app. We posted video of the fire, plus firefighters' efforts to get people out. You can also see our full investigation into the high-rise management